On the 15th of December 1900, lighthouse keepers James Duckett, Thomas Marshall and Donald MacArthur noted the last entries on the slate at Flannan Isle lighthouse. Shortly afterwards, they disappeared and were never seen again. Over 100 years later, the events of the disappearance still remain a mystery, and interest in the little Scottish island of Isle Moor has never waned. Theories about the disappearance have abounded, with everything from sea monsters to ghost ships being blamed for the disaster. In 2019, a film based upon the story called The Vanishing was released. So, what was the Flannan Isle mystery, and what happened to the 3 lighthouse keepers there more than a century ago? The first record that something was amiss on the Flannan Isles was on the 15th of December 1900 when the steamer Archtor noted that the Flannan Isles lighthouse wasn't lit. When the ship docked in Leith, Scotland, in December 1900, the sighting was reported to the Northern Lighthouse Board. A lighthouse relief vessel called Hesperus tried to reach the island on the 20th of December but was unable because of poor weather. It eventually reached the island around midday on the 26th of December. The ship's captain, Jim Harvey, sounded his horn and set up a flare in the hope of alerting the lighthouse keepers. There was no reply. Relief keeper Joseph Moore set out on a boat, alone, to the island. He found the entrance gate and main door of the compound closed. Climbing the 160 steps up the lighthouse, he discovered that the beds were unmade, the clock on the kitchen wall had stopped, the table was set for a meal that remained uneaten, and a chair had been toppled over. The only sign of life was a canary in a cage in the kitchen. Moore returned to the crew of Hesperus with the grim news. Captain Harvey sent another 2 sailors ashore for a closer inspection. They discovered that the lamps had been cleaned and refilled, and found a set of oilskins, suggesting that one of the keepers had left the lighthouse without them. The log was in order, and recorded poor weather conditions, while entries about the wind speed at 9 a.m. on the 15th of December were written on the slate and ready to be entered into the log. The final log entry was reportedly on the 15th of December and said, "Storm ended, sea calm. God is over all." The West Landing had received significant damage, turf had been ripped up and supplies destroyed. However, the log had recorded this. The search party scoured every corner of Isle Moor for clues about the fate of the men. However, there was still no sign. They eventually left behind a replacement crew to man the lighthouse until the mystery could be solved. Joseph Moore, the relief keeper who had been left behind, later reported strange occurrences during his time on Isle Moor. He said that on the night of December 15th, he heard a loud, prolonged cry that he could not identify. He also said that the lighthouse lamps had been left unlit that night, despite the fact that it was a stormy night and the light was needed to warn ships of the dangerous rocks around the island. An investigation was launched on the 29th of December by Robert Muirhead, a Northern Lighthouse Board superintendent. Muirhead had originally recruited all 3 men and knew them well. He examined the clothing in the lighthouse and concluded that Marshall and Duckett had gone down to the western landing to secure the supplies and equipment there, but were swept away by the severe storm. He then suggested that MacArthur, who was wearing only his shirt rather than oilskins, followed them and similarly perished. The keepers venturing out into the storm can probably be explained by Marshall, who had previously been fined 5 shillings, a significant amount of money for a man in his job, for losing his equipment in a previous storm. He would have been keen to avoid the same thing happening again. Their disappearance was officially recorded as an accident because of the bad weather, and the lighthouse's reputation was tarnished for a long time afterwards. No bodies were ever found, and national and international press went wild with speculations. Bizarre and often extreme theories included a sea serpent carrying the men away, foreign spies abducting them, or a ghost ship, known locally as the Phantom of the Second Hunters, capturing and murdering the trio. It was also suspected that they had arranged for a ship to secretly ferry them away so they could all start new lives. Suspicion fell upon MacArthur, who had a reputation for being bad-tempered and violent. It is speculated that the 3 men could have had a fight upon the western landing, which resulted in all 3 falling to their deaths from the cliffs. It was also theorized that MacArthur murdered the other 2, then threw their bodies into the sea before killing himself. There were also reports that the logs had strange entries in Marshall's hand, which stated that the weather was the worst he'd experienced in 20 years, Duckett was very quiet, MacArthur had been crying, and that all 3 men had been praying. A later investigation later revealed that no such entries had ever been made and were likely falsified to further sensationalize the story. It is almost certain that the truth about the Flannan Lighthouse mystery will never be uncovered, and today it remains one of the most intriguing moments in the annals of Scottish seafaring history.